Thousands of people in Chattanooga are exposed to toxic lead in the ground. I'm Josh Rowe.
And I'm Kim Chapman. EPA records show they've known about the contamination in these 8 Southside neighborhoods for more than 3 years.
The need to clean up the lead is so critical that the agency put Chattanooga on the national priority list in September of 2018.
Yeah, but as Kylie Thomas uncovers, the Hamilton County school system told us they had no plans in place to check if lead was in the soil where kids play until we pressed for answers. Kylie, good evening.
Yeah, that's right. The EPA has been warning families to not let their kids play in the dirt because of possible lead contamination. The agency has sampled more than 1,000 yards and has had to clean up toxic lead in more than 100 of those homes. But the very place where kids spend most of their days has not been sampled for lead yet to learn if it's hurting your kids.
Baba is in our bag. We'll find him. Here we go.
The doctor's office is a popular place for a 1-year-old, but this is no ordinary appointment.
So Miss Lauren is going to do that test that I told you about this morning.
The Hamilton County Health Department says every child who lives on Chattanooga's toxic lead site needs to get their blood sampled for lead poisoning.
The literature is showing that any level of lead can impact the development of a child.
Public health professor Don Ford says lead exposure at a young age can lead to brain damage, learning disabilities, and even a lower IQ. According to the Hamilton County Health Department, more than 100 kids of the 5,000 screened in Chattanooga had lead poisoning in the last 2 years. That's 5 times higher than the state average. Last year, the EPA moved 8 neighborhoods in Chattanooga to their national priority list. Records show lead contamination is caused from foundry sand and dirt that people would use for topsoil. You can see the old foundries with the red dots there. According to the EPA's website, the toxic site includes schools, as you see there on your screen, plus homes, parks, and playgrounds. We asked the Hamilton County school system when the 8 schools within the dangerous lead site were tested for possible contamination. On October 30th, the spokesperson for the school told us no sampling has been discussed.
I started asking questions in the summer.
Dawn said she's been pressing to get the 8 schools checked for 5 months, especially since the EPA takes care of the cost to test and fix any issues found.
I believe this should have been done years ago, and I'm not sure why it hasn't been.
We asked Superintendent Brian Johnson why they hadn't checked the soil for lead since knowing about the problem for more than a year.
That'd be an EPA question. We go off of their guidance as far as notifying us.
We tried to clarify with the EPA why it took so long to start testing at these schools. We couldn't get a clear answer. The best the agency could say is testing takes time. We asked the school when they submitted access agreements to let the EPA sample for lead.
I don't know, within the last, I guess, week or 2, but they've been submitted.
If you follow that timeline, 2 weeks before we sat down with Johnson is when we were told there were no plans for lead testing. At this point, that sampling still hasn't happened.
Very important. I know.
While schools wait for the EPA to check their properties, this mom isn't wasting time to get her child tested.
And I just want to make sure she's in a place where she's safe and well cared for, and we're not doing anything to compromise her future.
A waiting game for the children of Chattanooga. Now, since visiting the health department, the Ramsey family learned their daughter does not have lead poisoning, so that's great news to hear. Also, since digging into this story, the EPA tells me the school has now given them permission to test for lead in the soil where kids play every day. Also, though, they're still trying to set a date for that sampling, but we didn't wait. Just take a look. With these lead tests used by teams at UTC, we tested the soil at the public school playgrounds. Those samples are at the lab right now, and we'll keep you updated on those results. Live in Chattanooga tonight, I'm Kylie Thomas, News Channel 9.
Okay, Kylie, thank you. According to the EPA, Chattanooga Girls Leadership Academy was sampled 2 months ago. Their soil was fine. The Montessori School, which is the one private school on the toxic site, was tested in 2018. Their soil was safe as well.